since I fell for you.
Hey guys, Jacob Dupre here at Sweetwater. Today I'm sitting down with my friend Tamar Greene, who currently is in the Chicago cast of Hamilton. He plays George Washington. Tamar, thanks so much for coming today.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And now it's really exciting for us to be together. We actually just got to play together for the first time. I think it's been like 6 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Since we played. We both went to college at the Eastman School of Music in Rochester, New York, so we were both there for a while. Playing in a band together, you know.
Yeah.
You were doing classical voice, but I was in the jazz program. But you know, on the weekends or whatever at midnight, we were,
right, exactly.
we were playing September and
Cross
Marvin
Paths,
Gaye's.
all the Marvin Gaye, Al Green, all the good stuff.
I know the good stuff, man. So it's very, very awesome that you're here today. It's so fun to see you again.
Honored, yeah.
So what everybody is going to be dying to hear about is your experience in Hamilton, which is so amazing. Just that in of itself. So start us from, you know, where you came from. You know, you could start when you were 2 years old if you want to.
Yeah.
But go back as far as you want, you know, your journey through music that led you to the stage, to Hamilton. I understand you actually played piano first and didn't start singing until later, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right, yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I was my mom played piano.
Okay.
I was really young. That was my first kind of intro into playing the piano. My parents are both musicians. My dad was a DJ. My mom played piano and also sang, but I didn't pick up singing until much later. But my dad had a record shop. I'm a first generation American. My dad is Jamaican. My mom is British Jamaican. And so Jamaican music and Jamaican culture was in the family pretty heavily. And so DJing was pretty big in the 70s and such as well. So my dad did a lot of that. And so music was always around, and he always made sure that we all played an instrument of some sort. Big family. I'm one of 10, actually. And all of us were made to play an instrument of some sort. And I picked up the piano pretty quickly early on and followed on kind of after my mom's footsteps a little bit there. And early on, I played classical piano. I was in school. I went to Hochstein Music School. I don't know if you remember that from Rochester.
Yeah, I do.
Rochester? Yeah.
I do, yeah.
Hochstein Music School there.
There you go.
And that was like the beginnings of my piano education was right there. Continued in piano for the longest time. I was forced into a choir really young.
Wow.
It was not my thing.
So you weren't into it at first?
No, not at all. I was not one of these. There's a lot of like my colleagues are like, oh, I've been singing since I was 8 or, you know, since I was singing before I could speak or whatever. I'm like, no, that was not me.
Didn't want to do it.
I was a very shy kid. I loved hiding behind my piano, because I was like, I was a small guy behind this big instrument, you know, and so I was like, I can just sit here and play and it'll be fine. Yeah. So that was my thing. I was like, I'm shy, but I'm going to express myself through the keys. So that's the beginning of my passion for the music and with the classical music route. I started singing a little bit, like I said. It was probably around middle school-ish age is when my dad had me get into a gospel choir. I was not really, I got into it, but in the beginning I was like, I'm a pianist.
Right.
You know?
I need my keyboard.
I'm a classical pianist, or I'm here to play Beethoven, you know.
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I kind of picked it up, and I got my first solo in that gospel choir, and I talk about all the time about how my first solo was a song called "Stay Connected," which had a little patois, which is Jamaican English, basically.
Oh, cool.
And so that was like my first intro on a stage in this church, and it was pretty awesome. But still, then I wasn't a singer. I was like, they gave me that chance to do a little something in middle school, and I did not take up singing for a little while after that, actually. A little bit in high school, just because I could hit some lower notes, and guys don't always jump to choir or singing early on.
Especially middle school kids don't normally have that range yet.
Yeah, so, right. And
so you were a rarity, I guess.
I literally, I went to School of the Arts, also in Rochester, which you may know. School of the Arts High School, and I had a teacher. I was there auditioning for piano, and I had a teacher who was in the audition with me, who was the choir teacher, voice teacher, and she said, sing something for me. Do you have something you can sing? I was like, no. Why do people keep asking me to sing something? This is not what I do. I'm a pianist again.
Right.
But she had me sing something. And I was like, I don't know any songs. I don't know anything. She's like, sure you do. Star Spangled Banner or something.
Right.
Sing
Happy
whatever.
birthday, whatever.
You know, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, fine. And then I did that, and she's like, okay, you're gonna do this. And then I fought her again through high school. Like, this is not what I do. Yeah, and so 1, 2, skip a few a little bit, went to college, picked it up later in college, and that's when I really started taking it a bit more seriously. In my undergrad, still was a piano major, also was a computer information systems major.
Really?
I'm not sure if you knew that.
I didn't know that,
Didn't
man.
know that,
Wow,
yeah.
you were really working.
I was really working.
I thought I was busy practicing my just classical piano, but you were also doing.
I was
Oh,
doing.
man.
It was busy. It was definitely very, very busy.
Wow.
I could say it's like I was fighting being a singer, I guess.
Sure. Yeah.
But legitimately had passions for all those other things. I truly, obviously, still love piano.
Of course.
Still love my computer side of me. But started singing a bit more, and then came time for grad school, and I had another teacher through my undergrad who said, you have to take lessons with me. And I was like, this is a repeat of like childhood or high school, whatever. So I was like, okay, fine. So I took it up then, went under his wing a little bit there. Todd Graber at SUNY Oswego.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you taught, if you were went to Oswego.
I know the
a little bit.
SUNY schools.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, of course,
Yeah.
And that's what I did my undergrad. And then came time for college, and that's where we met in
That's
Eastman.
where we met,
when I
right.
started taking singing
Yeah.
much more seriously, classically.
I find it so funny that like, you know, you fought wanting to sing for so long, and
Yeah.
like now look where you are, man.
I know, yeah.
I mean, maybe was there a certain singer that you loved, like when you were younger, that really pushed you over the edge and made you like be like, I want to pursue singing? Like, was there something or a teacher that inspired you, maybe?
Well, definitely teacher-wise was Miss Watson. That was the earliest person who told me to sing something. Artist-wise, I think my voice was always a little bit lower, and so I couldn't even hear what it would be like to be a singer. Couldn't really fathom it, and I was very comfortable with my piano and classical piano, and I didn't know exactly what career I would have with it, but I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this and maybe be a concert piano. I don't know, who knows?
It's what you loved.
It's what I loved. So, you know, at the time I was like, you know, living on a dream, and still blessings. Still able to live on a dream right now. But then I was like, no, I want to be a pianist. But I will say that like Luther Vandross was the first person that like, because he has such a warmer voice with like such a top extension, you know?
Yeah, I can hear that.
You can hear,
hear
and that
influence.
was the first time I was able to really say like, oh wow, like people with lower, because a lot of times people think of singers that are male, they have like really high voices, very light, and think of tenors being really, really light voices and light instruments. And so I was like, there's obviously no place for me there, you know, whatever. So Luther was my first time like, oh, okay. Yeah, there's room for all types of voices.
Exactly.
So that was my first intro into the singing a bit, and acceptance into my ability to be a singer.
Yeah. But you feel like overall playing keyboard, you know, we are sitting in front of these awesome RD 2000s.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I'm a mainly piano player, so I'll talk about piano being great all day anyway. But a lot of musicians, and the both of us, like going through college, we know that playing piano is like a huge part of the curriculum now.
Oh yeah.
You know, all universities, most of them, I think, too. You know, you got to take piano class, even if you're an oboe major or you're a string player. So you feel like, you know, your piano playing has definitely been a foundation for you as a musician.
Without a question, yeah. You learn so much by studying the piano. Even though I don't play piano mainly in my life right now, I can do so many different things because I have that background in piano and have that background in the theory, especially like with classical piano and stuff like that. Similarly with like, you know, jazz, there's like so much study of theory, you know, that you have to have. And it's really incredible to have that and like see where it crosses over, and it's useful everywhere. I remember even at Eastman, I didn't even realize that there was a piano class because I just, you know, I tested out of it pretty quickly and I just kind of moved on. But I saw all my singer friends who were like, oh, I gotta, you know, take this class and I gotta play this whatever Bach convention maybe. And I was like, oh, is that where you guys are at 2 o'clock? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
totally.
I don't know, I didn't even realize it, but like, it's so helpful, and it helps performing with other instrumentalists as well, because like we can speak this language and I know how to get around the keys, and you know, so it's invaluable, truly invaluable to have that background.
So, talked about keyboard. Let's go back into Hamilton a little bit. I don't know if you could ever really get tired of talking about Hamilton. I mean, it's so cool. So I had the privilege of getting to go hear you in Chicago, and you were so amazing.
Thank you.
I mean,
Thank you.
so I'd love for you to tell us about your journey. So we talked about college. You get out of college now. I mean, kind of like I'm sure I did. A lot of music students get out of school. It's like, all right, I've got this degree. Now, what am I going to do? The world's out there waiting for me. So, what took you from that moment through, finding Hamilton, going through an audition process? Take me through some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So right after school, I stayed in Rochester for a little bit. I was performing. Again, I got my degree. I don't know if we said this. Actually, I got my master's in vocal performance and literature at Eastman, focusing on opera, basically. Nice. So I stayed in the Rochester area and did a lot of classical things, I would say, in general. So like performing at churches and singing in the choirs there, local-ish opera companies I perform with. But also teaching, which I love to teach. And so in Rochester, I stayed a little while teaching both piano and voice. I started picking up a passion for teaching voice through Eastman, actually. I really am truly grateful for them because we had a course in pedagogy. So that was where I was able to find my first love of teaching and understanding the voice very well. So I did that just after graduating, stayed in Rochester, and then actually, it's funny. I was like, how did I transition from there? I was like, actually, Miss Watson again. Who now we were friends on Facebook. She contacted me or sent me a link because she knew that I performed with a soul band or what have you throughout Eastman, and she contacted me and said, I know you do this kind of stuff. Just so you know, Motown is having auditions. There's a Broadway show called Motown in New York City. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, I sing that kind of stuff all the time. You're right. I'll heed your advice again and give this a shot.
She hadn't steered you wrong yet.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Hadn't steered me wrong yet. Here I am. I just finished my degree that you put the bug in my ear, and here I am. So she, again, guardian angel, came and dropped that little bug in my ear. And so I stayed in Rochester teaching, and I would commute to New York City to do different things. And when my parents, I told you, they're immigrants basically, and they came to this country, they came to New York City. And so I know New York City very well, and my mom actually still lives in New York City while I was in Rochester. And so I know that drive very well, so it was like nothing to me to just do whatever during the week or whatever and make the 5.5 hour, 6 hours, because I always do the speed limit, drive to, to New York City. And so I would do that for the Motown. I did that for the Motown auditions, and I didn't know anything about what a Broadway audition would be like.
Really?
I went to the Broadway theater there in Midtown in New York City, and I was like, okay, and I stood in a line, waited out in a line, and I was like, okay, I guess this is what you do. I was there super early. I can't even remember what time it was, maybe 6 or 7 or something like that, to stand in the line.
Wow.
Before the auditions started, probably around 8 or 9 or something like that. So I was like out there for a while.
Kind of sounds like the American Idol thing.
It does sound like that. It does sound a bit like
similar,
that. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, probably is. I haven't done the American Idol right, but it does sound a bit like that. But yeah, I did that. Waited in the line, and then they had some press people out there because Motown is, obviously in general, Motown is big. Yeah. And then Broadway Motown was also really big. And waited there for a little while and got inside the theater, and we had an audition downstairs in the Broadway house. Actually, you go into the door and then you go down. We went downstairs. They were funneling people all over the place. There were lots of people at this audition, and I went downstairs, and I was in my full suit because I'm used to opera auditions, and that's what you do at opera auditions. You wear a suit, whatever, tie, vest. I was dressed to the nines.
You were decked out.
I was decked out for a theater audition, which I didn't really know was not quite the right style, but it's fine. It's better than being underdressed. I always say that.
That's true. It's good you didn't come in shorts and a t-shirt.
It is good.
First Broadway audition
in the Broadway theater, which I didn't know where I was going at the time. But anyway, I went downstairs, and they had a dude by a door or whatever, just like with like a TV dinner stand or whatever, and like a notebook or or something, and it's like next, and people stepping from the stairs to him over there, and I was like, what is this? Because I'm used to the setting of going into a room and it's big enough room for our voices to ring and whatever. And no, that was not the case.
Guess they got too many people for that.
They did have a lot of people. They did have a lot of people, and they were like running through it. It's very efficient. I just didn't know what I was getting myself into.
So did you, well, first, so what did you audition with? And could you tell from the get-go that he was impressed? Or like, did you know anything?
Well, I went in there and I had heard it through the grapevine. There we go. I was cycling through my brain. I was like, what was it? Yeah, we did heard it. That's exactly right, which we used to do all the time.
I think we played that one a bunch.
Absolutely. We did it a bunch of times. And I was like, Motown, let's do that. And I did that. And I didn't know immediately like it was going to go anywhere. I was like, okay, whatever. And it was like a small clip. I'm not used to that either. When you do opera auditions, you do like a 4-minute aria, and then you might get to do a second one.
Right.
So I did that small clip, and it was truly a crash course into what it's like to audition in New York City.
It's just like a lot of prep and anticipation for such a small moment.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. A lot of prep, a lot of time. And you get there, and it's like, thank you, and it could be 1 minute. And you're like, thank you. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll just drive 6 hours back home.
Dang.
But it was great. I went back home, visited my mom. My mom, like I said, lives in New York City. And I went back home, and they called me back and said that they were like, hey, this is Telsey. I didn't know who they were at the time. It's like, this is Telsey Casting. And you came and auditioned actually for Motown, but we'd love to see you for Porgy and Bess.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And again, I'm like, who are you? Who is it? I was like, is this a bill collector? I didn't know it was but I was like, yeah, okay. Great, that sounds cool. Yeah, that's great. And so then I went back and forth to New York City again for Porgy and Bess auditions. And it went pretty quickly because they were casting in a short amount of time. And I booked Porgy and Bess, and that was my first professional job, like Equity, the union, Actors Equity Association. First Equity gig, got my card, and that's like the beginning.
That's
of where I am now, I guess.
Right. So that was kind of your first taste of the Broadway audition experience, and then was Hamilton kind of a similar thing where?
Yeah. So Hamilton was different because that came out a couple years after that, and I was a little bit more experienced and knew what it was like. I had an agent at the time. I still have an agent. I don't know what I said at the time, but I had an agent, and I to quote the show, wanted to be in the room where I needed to be in the room.
Nice.
I didn't think I was going to be the first one to do that, actually.
It's Hamilton quote 1. Start a counter.
Quote number 1. It's 1 tally.
Yeah. I mean, I already told you I was going to do this to you for a couple times.
The right hand man.
I should have done it there.
There it is. Yeah, no, that works. They both work.
It's the best use of a low C on a piano that I've ever heard.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah. I mean, Beethoven, get out of the way, because this low C is better than any in the world.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, continue.
Yeah. So I went to see the show. Just on a whim. I was with my girlfriend, and we went to we were just out and wanted to see what was open on this night, and we wanted to play the lottery and see, because we're downtown, we were with some other friends. I'm like, okay, we're here and want to see what's available. And so we were like, oh, that new show is here.
That new show,
right? That new show,
circa
Hamilton
2015.
It was 2015, yeah. That new show is up, and I was like, yeah, we're here. We're right around the corner from it. Let's just try to play that lottery, and And I never win anything, so I was like, okay, whatever. I'll just go there and check it out. I have nothing to lose. If I lose, I'll just go on the train and go home, whatever. And then I played the lottery, and I won the lottery. And it was the most bizarre thing ever, because I was more excited about winning the lottery in general than actually the fact that I'm going to see Hamilton.
Right.
Like, that's how big at the time.
True.
Or how big Hamilton wasn't, I guess, yet.
Yeah, right.
I was just like, oh my gosh, I won a lottery, and it's $10 for these tickets.
It kind of sounds like you were so meant to be with Hamilton from the beginning. I mean, you won the lottery. So
I won the lottery.
Wow, that's amazing.
So I saw that show then, and I was sitting a couple rows in front of Joe Biden that day, in I think it was July of 2015. 2015.
Wow.
In case he sees this and remembers seeing the show then.
Yeah.
I was there.
Remembers that you were there.
You remember me? I'm sure he does.
He
He
knows you. Yeah, he knows you. Yeah. He watches Sweetwater's videos too.
Oh,
we know that.
absolutely.
Yeah, he comments
He's
all the time.
frequent. That's amazing.
So,
but yes.
that's cool.
So I saw the previews then, and I was like, just honestly and truly blown away from seeing the show. Because sometimes I feel like people now see it, and sometimes, it's a huge show. And so, like, the hype is out there, and so some people, like, latch onto it, haven't even seen it yet, and they're like, oh, it's an amazing show. Like, have you seen it? No. And they're like, oh, wait, you should see the show, because it's actually an amazing show. And so, like, experience it that way without the hype of it at that point, it was truly a incredibly moving experience for me. We were in the front row, and it was, so being spat on and such.
And the whole, in a sense, so the whole original cast too, right?
Oh, absolutely,
that you got to hear.
I got to see Chris Jackson, Leslie Odom. I got to see them all right up front, and it's just powerful.
Wow.
And I never heard anything like that, really. Nothing has really been quite like Hamilton.
No.
And that's why it's so big, But I remember feeling like there was like mixing sounds and all this stuff, like the DJ kind of thing. And I told you my father's a DJ. And so I kept hearing that kind of stuff, and I was like, what's happening to me right now? Just experiencing this incredible show with like the bass that they use in the show and everything, the full sounds of the show. It's really, really incredible. And I remember thinking, because I'm an opera singer, it's not too popular in Jamaican communities. So I was already doing something that was kind of like odd and out there, but I was seeing the show and I was like, this is a show that I can show my family and they'll understand why I do what I do.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So I was incredibly excited from there. And so with that drive, I was forcing myself into the rooms to get an appointment, because they were doing, with an agent, you try to get an appointment.
Sure.
Because they'll fight for you and submit for you, and then you get into a room. But
they're trying to give you a shot.
They were trying to give me a shot. Yeah.
Nice.
Number 2.
That's 2 or 3. Yeah. Yeah.
And so at the time, I was like, it just wasn't working out for me to get an appointment. So I actually went myself to just go to another open call, similar to Porgy and Bess, or Motown was the actual audition, but similar to that, I just went into the line for a couple hours because I was like, I need to be seen, like right now. And I did that and waited a couple hours. Started raining a little bit. I was there with a friend, and I got seen. Got in a room, got an immediate callback to go out down the hall and sing again for the casting director, and then got callbacks from that moment on. And it had been a long process. That was, like I said, 15-ish.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it took me 2 years, 2 years to actually get the job. And that's not an uncommon story, because they're very particular. This casting, the creative team is particular with who they want in a brilliant way, and they construct that ensemble very meticulously based on voice types or whatever, heights, whatever. And so 2 years, but it was I'm here where I'm supposed to be now, and I'm a big believer in that. But you can't. My mom used to say this all the time. You can't have what's not yours. I didn't even see myself as a George Washington at the time, and so it wasn't my time, obviously.
Yeah.
And now is my time.
For sure. And that's kind of that's definitely, moms say all the best things.
Moms did it good. Like, is there a mom school where you just learn how to drop, like
it seems
diamonds?
Like as soon as they have their first kid, all this wisdom just balloons in their head and comes out.
Moms,
but yeah,
incredible
my mom always said the similar thing. Like, if it's meant to happen, it's going to happen. It's not about when, but it will. She kind of told me that about being at Sweetwater. I kind of had a similar story where it was kind of a long way around to ending up here, but like now I'm really glad I'm here too. Yeah. So it's like, it's being patient and being hopeful that the right thing will come is big. And that's obviously a good message for maybe a lot of younger musicians, maybe other musicians that are kind of interested in this world, where you've ended up. Is that like being patient and not getting discouraged is a big thing, right?
Absolutely. Because I've met a lot of, younger artists who were, and we all fall in this trap, but like you start comparing yourself to other people. Yeah. Now the internet makes it toxic. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's absolutely toxic, and people are well-meaning, of course. In our industry, at least, people post pictures and say like first day of school whenever they book a new show, that kind of it's kind of a cliche thing that we do. We all do it. We all have done it if we don't do it anymore. And I used to do it all the time. And then like I saw people were like getting kind of like feeling downhearted about like, oh, I auditioned for that too, and it's like, oh, well, you know, like it's okay because your time will come, you know.
Yeah.
And I've met a lot of young singers, young artists who are like comparing themselves to people who got something right out of school, and I'm like, that is, some people obviously do. There's plenty of people who book things right out of school, but some people don't, and that's completely fine. You just continue to do your work, continue to trust the process.
Yeah.
You know, like we got our John Lawrence in our show, and we have Jamal Fields Green, Sandra. They literally just graduated last year.
Wow.
You know, and like how incredible.
Yeah.
You know, how lucky they are to be alive right now.
There you go.
Yeah, another tick. No, but it's great that they're able to do it. They're very talented, and like they should be happy for getting the opportunity, the blessing that came to them.
Yeah.
But it's not for other people to then judge themselves. You know, like that's not fair to yourself. Like there's a process to it all.
But what can I do? I'm still in love with you.
So we mentioned we both went to Eastman, both went to the school, both did our very astute musical training, got immersed in theory and history, and
Eastman does love their theory. Actually.
It does love their
really,
theory. I'm sure
really
all that sonata analysis comes in handy when you're singing your big finale in Hamilton, right?
Every day, it's in my head.
Every day, yeah. Thank you, Beethoven, for what you did for Tamar in his career. But so that college experience, you know, maybe you can talk a little bit about how, you know, because some people may think that like, well, you're going into something like Hamilton, which obviously has like a lot of modern kind of pop music influence, which maybe isn't directly related to, you know, the kind of stuff you were doing in school. Like if you were doing opera and classical, and you were learning the technique of singing in that way. But maybe you could talk about how, you know, how that has influenced you later, you know, and also, you know, maybe some situations where it's come in handy.
Yeah, absolutely. And we joked a little bit over there about analyzing sonatas and whatnot, but like that kind of training is very important. It's very important. It's come in handy in the oddest ways, you know, sometimes.
I agree.
Pianistically, but also vocally, classically. I do the show, a lot of people like comment on my voice and the size of my instrument and all that. And I owe a lot of that to Eastman, a lot of that to my classical voice teachers who taught me about diction and breath support and placement and about the pedagogy. It was Caldrick and at Eastman, thinking about how exactly to open this space a little bit more for this note and how much air I need to like let slip out, and then how much I can hold a little bit, and then like the strength of my lungs. Those are all muscles that I've grown and strengthened through my classical training. Like I truly use that every day. But also, even we were talking about the audition for Hamilton, the last auditions had Tommy Kail and who was it? No, Andy wasn't there. It was just Tommy and Alex Lackamar. Arranged all the music. He's a mastermind.
Amazing
he's done
people.
so much stuff. He's a brilliant pianist as well, but he also knows the voice really well, and he's a fan of classical music. And so I went in the room with my material ready to do. At the time, I was auditioning for, they had me doing Mulligan Madison, Lafayette Jefferson, and then also George Washington.
Wow.
So they just wanted to hear me do all the stuff.
All of it. Wow.
And that's a lot of material. Well, actually, those 5 people, because both are 2 different people with technically one role.
Right.
But Lafayette Jefferson, Mulligan Madison, and then George Washington. You know.
Gotcha.
But it was great and it felt good, and I had I felt like obviously I had a really good audition because I got the job. We already know the ending of the story. But I did the last bit of the George Washington material, and they said like, wow, great, Tamar, really good. And Alex he's such a cool guy, a really regular person. Side note to that, actually, when I was coming into the building for that last audition, I was actually on tour with Love Never Dies, and I took a day off to go to this audition. Well, not a day off. I literally like took the travel day to go on my own back to New York to audition, and then to meet the tour back up the day after. So I had like all of my touring luggage with me, and I was just like kind of a mess, like a sweaty mess running down the New York City streets with these 2 50-pound bags and a book bag on my back and whatever. It was like, it was a lot. And then like the front door was locked. at the Telsey building, and I didn't know at the time that they had a new entrance to the. It was kind of a mess and very stressful. But I went to the front door and I was like, go around the back, and I was like, and I went around to the back door, and then I got there, and then like someone opened the door for me, and I was like, oh, thank you, and I was like looked up, and I was like, it was Tommy Kell, who was the Tony Award-winning director of this show, and
Wow.
he's done many other things, and he just like held the door open for me, just like nonchalantly, and I was like,
Cool
oh, thank you, and I was like. And, you know, like he didn't know who I was. He just like saw a dude struggling and was like, yeah, absolutely, go ahead. Do you need a hand? You good? I was like, thank you. He didn't know I was going there to go audition for him in like 15 minutes,
Right.
you know?
Wow.
So like stuff like that shows, it's just a testament to who these people are. You know,
Yeah.
just generally good people.
Yeah.
So it's been a pleasure to work with them. But getting back to the actual audition story, I finished up the audition, finished my Washington material. Talking to them about random stuff. He was asking me a little bit about my opera training, because on my resume, I just put it all there. Some people like separate it.
Sure.
But I like to just put, you know, this is me. You know, so like I got my
Smart.
opera stuff there as well as my theater stuff. Excuse me. And so he's like, talk to me a little bit about this Eastman stuff here. I mean, that's a great school. I see you got some the Eastman credit there vocally, and I was like, yeah. He was like, what voice type are you? I was like, I'm actually a tenor, which I actually am a tenor. I'm actually a tenor.
Wow.
Not the traditional like high pink tenor, you know,
Sure.
but more like the blues evangelist kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
So definitely classically, I'm a tenor. And so I told him that, and he's like, oh, what kind of stuff do you like, and what would you sing? I was like, oh, I like Verdi, Puccini. Those are like my kind of things, actually. He's like, oh, that's amazing. I love Puccini, and like, you know. And so we're talking about that, and he's like, okay. And he's like sitting there thinking a little bit. He's like, all right, great. Do you mind just like waiting outside for a minute? And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. Went outside, maybe about 2 minutes, and then the casting director comes out, Bethany Knox, and came out and said like, hey, can you just come in? They want to see if you have like an aria or something classically you can sing with it. I was like, because even though I keep that stuff on my resume, I don't bring both books with me.
I mean, and who would expect that in an audition for a show like that?
Right, exactly.
Anybody would be interested in that. That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Like I was literally dumbfounded. I was like, sure, of course. And then she was like, just come in. And she was really sweet. And I was like, okay, cool. And I walked in the room, and Alex is like, hey, Tamar, like you got a great audition. Like obviously it's not a huge deal, but like you've already had a great audition. This has nothing to do with like whatever, but we just would love to hear what you would sound like.
It kind of sounds like they just kind of wanted you to entertain them. I think they were curious.
They were just curious. Like I want to hear what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And so it was great to have that moment to like talk to them a little bit about my other interests rather. And I was like, yeah, okay, well, let's see what I have. And I was like, I don't have my book with me. He was like, oh, well, it's no worries. And I was like, no, I can, don't worry. Hold on a second. And then I went actually going in my mind from my memory. I was like trying to remember what key the song was in and this aria was in. And I just went to the keyboard. And I was like, do you mind just give me a second to, so again, where my piano skills come in handy.
Sure.
Went to the keyboard and started playing a little bit, trying to find, I was like, what is this note? What is that? Okay. And then, okay. And the high note is this. Okay, cool. And I like went away and I was like, okay, cool. Here we go. And I did one of my mom's actual favorite art songs, Cori Ingrato.
Okay.
And it was great. They were just like, thank you. Like, thank you so much. And
That's amazing.
And I left the room and they called my agents like 20 minutes later and put me on hold. Actually, they didn't make an offer yet, but they were like, we're gonna put you on hold. We're very interested, not quite sure what capacity yet. Again, I talked about earlier how they're very particular with the ensemble and constructing the show. So they're like, we're not quite sure exactly yet, but we want to make sure you know we're interested.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, that opera training, that classical training, I was put on the spot and I was like, yeah, I got some Italian for you. I love Italian. Let me just, my eyes are in the back of my head. Let me just see if I can find that behind the Lafayette Jefferson, the Mulligan Madison material.
Sure.
And find that.
Wow.
I dug it out and stay ready. You don't have to get ready, right? That's
right. Yeah. Well, you kind of like, I think from what I remember and appreciate from college, from what we both did with music, it gives you kind of a bag of tricks, but not in a negative way that might sound, but more like a bag that you can pull from. It's like and the deeper you go, the more you have, like the more tools you have. Maybe that's a good way to say it.
Oh, absolutely.
So like you had those tools, and I bet that the guys that were hearing you, they wanted to hear that because they figured if this guy can sing all our stuff like he just did, but he also has this deep background in all this, and all the training you talked about, like working with your teachers that taught you how to use your instrument right. I don't know, but I would imagine that not everybody that goes into these shows has that kind of training. So I'm sure that set you apart. You know, I'm sure they wanted to hear it because they were curious, but I would imagine that probably helped you a great deal for them to see that depth that you had.
Absolutely.
So that's really cool. So from the whole experience, so it's what it's like being in Hamilton. Is there some things that, what's like the thing that surprised you the most, or something you didn't expect, or something that kind of changed you? I know you had been in Motown, you'd been in productions, Porgy and Bess, right? That's right. Motown got you to Porgy and Bess. But I feel like, just the moving stage in and of itself had to be like a new thing, right? That was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is a lot. I actually, Love Never Dies is what I did before I did Hamilton, and they actually had a revolve as well. They call it the revolving stage. Or
so you had experience with that.
So I actually had some, I could put that on my resume, like experience with a turntable and revolve
moving
stages. Moving stage, all right.
Okay.
So fortunately I had that, but we had a singular one. So this show has double. So that's one that was kind of a little bit tricky, but probably not as much as other people who had no experience with it, because it's really all about moving your weight around a little bit when you're stepping on it. You have to like anticipate what it's going to be like when you put your weight on this moving thing. Almost like you're at the airport or something like that. You're just thinking that, right? Yeah.
I was about to say, is it like that? And you nailed it.
Yeah, it very much is, except it goes in a circle. But
sure.
So it's a little bit more tricky. But it is that way. We have to like go on there and just like, we're going on there, and just like move forward and just like put your weight forward. Or if it's going the opposite direction, you have to anticipate that and slow up a little bit. Like even with like some of the following, a lot of fans and stuff, I didn't know how that would pan out. And there's a lot of great fans. I know like people's Instagrams have blown up from being cast in the show, and we have like some amazing fans that just like do like artwork and fan art and stuff like that.
Wow.
That was something that was a little surprising for me, and that was really cool.
So you have some fan art of you?
I do.
That's cool.
Some pretty cool fan art that's in my dressing room. A lot of it's on my dressing room, some of it is at home as well.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
But I enjoy that. But one of the things I didn't expect, because I knew how the show affected me, but I didn't know fully at the time what it would mean to be the person on the stage. It was really like what it felt like to inspire other people of color who don't see themselves often in lead roles in shows.
Yeah.
Especially it's not a show that's like, necessarily about, a particular race thing or anything like that.
Sure.
Just like seeing stuff like that. And I've had many conversations with wonderful young aspiring artists, or just like young kids or whatever, that see that. And because I think, representation is incredibly important in whatever movies or whatever,
politics,
what have you.
Music,
and
exactly,
all of it. And that's really big right now too. So like, it was incredible to go out to the stage door and see people and like have moments. I do the stage door almost every day, and interact with several different people, everybody, like, and see how the show moves them and how they're moved and affected by that. So yeah, that was a big one for me. That's like it's humbling every day, because like I go back and see myself as a person who might have been one of two Black guys in a room doing classical music,
Right.
Like it's like I didn't know any different. I just was like, this is just what it is.
What you love.
This is what I love, and it is what it is. There's only two of us in this room, and then honestly, Porgy and Bess was my first kind of introduction to like a large group of people of color, all with degrees, master's degrees, doctorate degrees, and whatever classical. And so the way that affected me is kind of like how I see people affected by me being on stage and seeing them at the stage door. It really is. That's one of the things that I'm very passionate about and very much love.
Yeah,
about the show.
It's a huge. You have a huge platform to inspire people.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about Hamilton, but obviously, you know, we played a little keys since we've been sitting here and kind of jamming, and talked a lot about your piano playing. And I know you also do some writing, and we actually just, you know, we talked about we got to play together.
Yeah.
And we did do a cover of a really awesome ballad, really great song. But then we did one of your originals. And now I'm just remembering too, you know, you talking about your Jamaican heritage.
Yeah.
You were telling me your song we did has that influence in the rhythm, right?
Yeah.
And I just, that's really awesome that you found a way to, you know, you connect that. Me being from Louisiana, I connect a lot of like Louisiana music in my stuff too. So I totally relate. But with your original stuff, you know, what are you up to with that? You know, I do know you're writing stuff, but you're playing in Chicago, right? And,
Yeah.
You have your own band project?
I'm writing a lot of original music. I love to arrange, and so like a lot of my history has been working with other artists, arranging things, playing keys for them at different venues and whatnot. But again, one of the blessings of being in this company in Hamilton is that like a lot of people are working on their own music, and that really inspired me as well to like shift the gears a little bit to getting my own stuff out there actually. So this year I've been working on my own stuff, and I'm working on an EP, untitled right now.
Very
but
cool.
I've got a couple songs that I was very fortunate to be able to play at the Lollapalooza Festival in Chicago and perform at other venues around Chicago. So you can look out for some of my new music that I'll be having up in a short amount of time, and again, arrangements and covers and things like that. But yeah, but you'll be able to hear In My Arms, which we just did earlier, which
it's a cool tune,
I
man.
really enjoy it.
Yeah,
enjoy it.
I'm gonna be. I told you I'm gonna be singing that for like weeks. It's stuck in my head currently. I'm still thinking.
Yeah.
We were talking about how like you wanted to go for like a simple kind of introduction for that.
Yeah, I think I like because I can oversaturate my songs a lot of times.
Yes.
So I wanted to just like keep it really simple. Even with this, it's like an open fifth kind of deal. You know, I didn't even want to put like chords necessarily in it or whatever.
Right.
I just wanted to be really open and simple. And even at the time, I didn't have any. I didn't want any bass or anything in it at the time because I just wanted to keep it really simple and really classy or whatever. So I really enjoyed that with this piece. And so a lot of my inspiration does come from, like you said, Jamaican or reggae music and things like that. And classical and all that. So I incorporate all of that. Some of my artists I like, it's like Taurus Riley is an artist. You know, Bob Marley, of course, kind of stuff, the Marleys. Luther Vandross, we talked about my inspiration there. John Legend being a pianist and a singer-songwriter. We, you know, our band, well, I guess you weren't able to play at that time, but like in college, we opened for John Legend, and that was like an incredible time with our band then. Yeah. And so like I have a lot of that inspiration in my own music, whether I'm speaking in patois, which is a Jamaican English or dialect, or you can hear it in the rhythm, like you said, with the drum beat or things like that. So it's all laced in there, and you'll hear like a little bit of anecdotal, almost like hints of these other styles that inspired me. So yeah, follow me on Instagram, tamar.greene, my website, www.tamargreene.com. And I also teach voice lessons, and so I'll be as soon as this is over in January, I'll be back in New York City.
Very cool.
And readying my studio to continue teaching.
Well, I have to say it's been a pleasure to see you, to hang, to play, to talk, to reminisce. But I wish you continued success and luck in whatever you end up doing. And thanks so much for coming to talk. It's
absolutely, man. It's
awesome.
An absolute pleasure, man. Thank you for having me again.
And I'll be happy to. You still haven't seen all of Sweetwater yet, but we'll.
We're gonna check it out.
We'll take some time. We got to go. You might have to do the slide. Do you know there's a slide? You got to go down the slide.
Okay, yeah, I saw the pictures of the slide.
Okay, saw the pictures of the slide. Okay, so that's kind of a rite of passage. I don't think you can leave if you don't do the slide.
I'm here
Someone will
for
find
it.
you.
Let's do it.
So cool.
Let's do it.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching, and please tune in to our other videos. You can like, subscribe, let us know what you thought about this. Thanks so much for watching.
That's why this is where we belong.